Oh, good morning, Yankees universe. Welcome back to another episode of the Yankees Morning Brew on this Saturday, September 2nd. Like always, I'm your guy Hector, joined by my co-host, Mr. TC Stills. Check out the intro and we will be right back.
Really, y'all don't know this, y'all in danger. I'm a threat. I'm a gamble with your life, cause you know that it's a bet. You know I ain't letting up, my foot is on your neck. Take my word for it, it's a promise and a threat. Really, y'all don't know this, y'all in danger. I'm a threat. I'm a gamble with your life, cause you know that it's a bet. You know I ain't letting up, my foot is on your neck. Take my word for it, it's a promise and a threat.
Oh, like I said, good morning. We are here on this Saturday with a special episode of the Yankees Morning Brew. I got my guy, Nathan Ramachandra, and my folks from the NNR Sports Hour. We got Jeremy Fishman. We got my guy, Bobby. You already know Julian. And we got Mariella down on the bottom. Welcome. Yeah. Salute. 3 capital S's. Bryan Hoch is backstage right now. We'll bring him up momentarily. But I want to throw it over to my guy, Nathan, first. Nathan, good morning, big fella.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Happy Saturday. We're in for a good show. Thanks for everyone for joining in today here. We got Bryan Hoch from the Yankees beat writer, MLB Network, and he has a book called 62. Go check it out. It's about Aaron Judge's historic season from last year. So Yankee fans, please tune in. Get into the chat right now. Get your questions ready. We're going to have a fire episode. Bryan Hoch, man, I can't wait for this. And I just want to give a big shout out to Bryan Hoch for doing this on short notice. I know he's in Houston, busy covering the series. But like I said, thank you. And then also, Hector, thank you for doing this, allowing us to do this on your platform. I think this is going to be a great episode today. So without further ado, Hector, if you want to bring him in now.
Go. Definitely. And before I do that, I just want to let people know in the chat that's watching us. We got 25 people in the building. If you guys can, smack that like button. And also, if you guys want to put your questions in, get your questions ready to go. If you guys are going to do super chat, skip the lines and will come automatically first when it comes to the questions. Just so you guys know, half of the proceeds for all the super chats that we collect today on the show will be going to a special organization that Nathan works with. Nathan, just let the people know what's the charity that we'll be donating the funds to.
So our team works for, it's called the Hugh Jackson Foundation. He's a former NFL coach, but now he's currently coaching at Grambling State University. It's called the Hugh Jackson Foundation. So we're trying to help him prevent human trafficking, making sure the community stays safe and all the kids stay safe. So it's so horrible out there what we're seeing with human trafficking. So every bit of help is important to us, and we've been helping them for the past 3 years. And shout out to Kim. She's one of the leaders of the program. So please, if you can, donate to that thing, and then we'll figure out how to send the money to them. Thank you.
Yes, definitely. And Nathan, again, thank you so much for setting this up with my guy Celso. I see we got a lot of people in the building. Let's get ready to the conversation. I'm going to bring up my guy, Bryan Hoch, right now. Bryan, good morning.
Woo. Hey, good morning, Bryan.
Oh, are we good? Bryan, you good? Audio check, everything good?
Oh, we can't.
Oh, can't hear the audio real quick. Let me just try to fix that out. Bryan, if you can, just refresh your stream and just jump right back into it. I do apologize for that. Hold on 1 second. Sorry about that, folks. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties, technology in 2023. Yes. But Bryan will be joining us momentarily. But Nathan, we started off with you, the Martian, Jason Dominguez. And if you want, throw it over to Bobby, Julian, and Jeremy to get their thoughts on the main man himself.
Hey, welcome to the show, Jason Dominguez, man. I feel like we're part of this because we covered him in Scranton, Somerset, Julian, Bobby. It's really amazing to see what he did yesterday. First at bat in front of his family, friends, and man, the Martian has landed in Houston. So Houston, we have a problem because we got a Martian.
That's a fact. Bobby, go ahead, baby.
Dominguez, man, he's a good kid, hard worker, and I'm really excited for his future. So throw it off to Julian or Bobby.
Yeah, no problem. So it's been great to see him this whole entire time this year. I mean, he started off slow. I mean, you think about it, we talk about it all the time. He started slow. This is the first time he's really played in cold weather, really cold weather, I think, for the first time in a while. It's been amazing to see him. him and Austin Wells have been great. I mean, it's I never would have predicted him to hit a home run last night. I mean, he didn't hit one in AAA, but he's just been missing doubles the other way, doing everything that he can, and he'll be someone hopefully that is just he doesn't go back down. I mean, he's going to be somebody who, especially, I would say, I mean, even to start next year, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, Yankee fans might not like it, but him and Pereira in left and center field might not be a bad combo, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely. Go ahead, Julia.
So I'm going to echo what Bobby said. I mean, we were in AA. This dude was struggling hard.
Yeah.
We were like thinking he was going to be stuck there the whole year. Like, it was looking bad. Like, I mean, he was taking his walks. Like, his swing decisions were pretty good. He just wasn't like swinging at enough like good strikes though, and he just like wasn't really capitalizing. There were some hard outs mixed in, but he was patient with his approach. He said he didn't want to change what he was doing. He was consistent, kind of like Volpe last year. He was struggling a little bit. And then the AAA was light speed, man. He was barely there. I'm happy I got to drop in for a second and see some of it and speak to him after. But it was really crazy because last week he was in AAA and now he's already up there in the home run of Justin Verlander. He's 20 years old. I mean, in terms of his future, I think that he's going to definitely be right in the mix for a starting job next year. I don't know how much this next month's going to play in said decision because it's a short sample size. Like, you want to see what he does in the spring, how he works on it. But I don't think he'll end up going back down, probably. I think he's here for good.
Yeah, I think the one by any chance, anyone hear John Sterling's home run call for him? And I'm just wondering, what was his home run call for Dominguez?
No, I was, yeah.
Justin Shackle was the one he was announcing too.
Oh, sorry, Justin Shackle.
Yeah.
But Dominguez obviously once you bring him up, you cannot put him back down. I think like Julian said, he's here to stay, and I'm happy. I want him to be our future center fielder. I think this is our future center fielder, and if he continues the strong month here, I think the Yankees will definitely keep him in center field. And shout out to Austin Wells too for getting his first hit. I love Austin. We also covered him in Somerset and Scranton, Julian and Bobby, and after the game, I reached out to him and said, "Congrats on his first hit," and he said, "Thank you" after the game. So he remembered us, and he's really excited. And for him and Dominguez to do it in front of their. By the way, both of their families were sitting right next to each other.
Right next to each other.
Amazing.
Right next to each other. Yeah.
I saw that.
So,
Nathan, if I can, we got Brian backstage. He just came back, so let's make sure we could get the audio right this time. Apologize,
Right.
Brian.
there we
Good
go.
morning.
What's up, guys? Sorry,
Morning,
plan
Brian.
B, technical difficulties.
All good, all good. As long as we can make it happen. Go ahead, Nathan.
Hey, Bryan Hoch, everybody tune in, Yankees beat writer. He works for MLB Network also, and he has a book called 62 about Aaron Judge's historic season last year. But Brian, I just want to say thank you for joining us. It's truly an honor. And I know we met a couple of times in person in Somerset and Scranton. You do a great job, and I know you're a busy man this weekend with the Houston series, but thank you for taking some time just to talk to us and talk to the fans. And Brian, thank you for joining. How are you doing today? And what was the atmosphere like yesterday with the Dominguez and Wells situation?
It was cool. You know, Aaron Judge said they had a little different vibe on the bus on the way over to Minute Maid Park, and you could just tell something special was happening, even from minute one. You know, just from a media perspective, we went down to the clubhouse. We got Austin Wells first, and obviously he was all smiles and really happy to be there. And then we talked to Dominguez, and he said that he knew it was going to feel really different and special when he stepped into that batter's box for the first time. And I don't think you could write it up any better than the way it happened, with him hitting a home run into the Crawford boxes off Justin Verlander, his first pitch, his first swing in a major league game. It just kind of a storybook. That's the way you draw it up. We've been hearing all this hype for years on Dominguez, and the comparisons, the impossible comparisons to Bo Jackson and Mike Trout and Mickey Mantle, and who can live up to that? Nobody can. But when you come up to the big leagues and you hit a home run in your first swing, it kind of sets the bar really high. So I'm excited to see what Dominguez can do with the rest of this opportunity, and Wells also getting his first hit last night. It was definitely one of the best Yankee games of the year, in a year where there haven't been very many great Yankee games. This was one of the highlights of the year.
Would you say like this compares to the season when they called up Judge and Tyler Austin in the same year. Would you compare it to that?
Yeah, it's kind of got that same feeling. I was there for that one too, when Wells and Austin and Judge went back to back, and Judge hitting that ball off the glass of a Monument Park for his first homer, and you kind of looked around and you said, "Oh, something cool is happening here." And it is kind of a transition there, where if you remember back to that one, they had the farewell for Alex Rodriguez the night before that, and then they brought in the kids the next day for a day game. And so it is kind of a changing of the guard here. You see the Yankees are phasing out. Obviously, they released Josh Donaldson. It's not the same as saying goodbye to A-Rod, but they released Donaldson and then let Harrison Bader go on waivers. So they are clearing a path here for the kids to come up and show what they can do.
Hector? Or
Yeah.
No, it's Brian hit it right on the head in the comparison. Ooh, sorry about that. And the comparison, comparing this season back to 2016. But when you look at it right now, especially with these young kids that are coming up, Austin Wells, Jason Dominguez, I think some of us that are on this panel, when it comes to being independent content creators like myself, Nathan, Julian, Jeremy, Bobby, Mariela as well, we all got into this around. Thank you so much, Brian. Thank you. But we all got into this around the time the Yankees first signed Jason Dominguez, first drafted Austin Wells, first drafted Anthony Volpe. So for a lot of us, we feel like we're much a part of this, just like the players themselves. Like me personally, I went down to Tampa and I saw Jason Dominguez and Austin Wells, his first game with the Tampa Bay Tarpons. I watched that whole weekend series, and he had his first home run down there with the Tampa Bay Tarpons. I got a foul ball from Jason Dominguez that till this day I'm trying to hunt this man down to sign it, because it's
You got to get him to sign it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
No, but Brian, the work that you do as well, I reference a lot of your work on my show when it comes to your tweets and the stuff that you put out. So you actually are one of those writers that seem like you're a fan of the Yankees at the same time. Did you grow up watching the Yankees? I just wanted to know.
I grew up. Don Mattingly was my favorite guy growing up. You know, I'm a kid of the '80s, so I mean, Donnie baseball was what you wanted to be when you were a little leaguer. You know, with the eye black and the Franklin batting gloves, and so I started out as it's a weird story. I started out as a Yankee fan, and the strike of '94 just broke my heart. You know, I stopped watching baseball for like 2 years, and then so around spring training of '96, my dad was a Mets fan. My grandpa was a Brooklyn Dodgers fan who became a Mets fan, and they kind of said, "Hey, why don't you come watch the Mets with me?" You know, they got these young pitchers coming up. They got Jason Isringhausen, they got Bill Pulsifer, they got Paul Wilson. The Mets are going to be good for a really long time. So I started watching the Mets, and I became a fan of the Mets at that time. And that's the worst possible time to leave the Yankees, because the Yankees are about to win the World Series in 1996, 1998, 1999, 2000. Those are my high school years there. So you can imagine the kind of verbal abuse I got from everybody going to a high school in New York State, Rockland County, where the Yankees are just winning the World Series every single year. But obviously, I think in the end, I went up where I was supposed to be. I love covering the Yankees. Obviously, it's the most prestigious beat, in my opinion, in Major League Baseball. Obviously, the franchise that's won the most championships, and the passion of the fans is just unmatched. And you guys can speak to that. I hear it every single day from you guys, win or lose. So I think that the best thing about covering the Yankees is, you know, that even in a year when they're bad, people care. People care about every single game. They play 162 one-game seasons, and every day is important when you go to work. So that's all you can ask as a reporter.
Amazing. I want to throw it over to Bobby. Go ahead, Bobby. Then throw it over to Jeremy, Julian, TC, and then Mariela. Also, we got 35 people in the building. If you guys can smack that like button, and if you have any questions for Brian, like I said, throw it in the super chat, send it up to us, and I'll highlight it on the screen so Brian can answer it. Go ahead, Bobby.
Yeah, no problem. So, I mean, I was a little bit after you, but I mean, my favorite player growing up was Tino Martinez right after Mattingly, but you know, him and Andy Pettitte. But no, I mean, I would just say, you know, through the years, I mean, I've been reading the 62 book, but I mean, besides Judge, I would say, who out of the years, and who would you say is the one player that stuck out the most to you, the most interesting? I mean, now that I think about it, probably A-Rod, but but besides A-Rod, but who else do you think would be like interesting to cover? Who was interesting that you covered throughout the time?
Man. I would say that my first year on the Yankee beat was 2007, so it's at the end of the Joe Torre era. You still got the core four there. Bernie wasn't there, unfortunately, but I just knew that covering Derek Jeter and Mariano Rivera, I knew these guys were headed to Cooperstown. These were going to be the Joe DiMaggio and Whitey Ford of their generation, and Mickey Mantle. It was going to fit in that legacy there. So even when you were watching them do their stuff day by day and trying to win games for the Yankees in real time, these are all-time great players that you're talking to, and they know your name, and like you're going to their locker and talking to them. And I always tried to appreciate that, because even as obviously as competitive and frustrating at times that it can be to be fighting for stories in the New York media, like you really do have a front row seat to history. And that was awesome. I just, Derek's career all the way up to his final at bat at Yankee Stadium, and then watching him go into Cooperstown, Mariano giving the ball to Derek and Andy Pettitte on the mound, and how great he was. And then obviously him going into Cooperstown unanimously. I really had a front row seat, and I was there for all of it from 2007 on, and just getting to know those guys on a personal level. I mean, gosh, I sat next to Mariano Rivera on a plane. I have stories that I can tell. I'm going to tell my grandchildren about covering those guys the way that that we would probably listen stories about Mickey Mantle. And obviously in doing this 62 book, I got to know so much more about Roger Maris and really digging into his life. I mean, this is part of Yankees history and it's baseball history. So I think that I've always tried to appreciate what's going on, not just in the moment, but to look back on it in the future and know that these are the all-time greats and the best of the best in what they do.
Mm-hmm. Jeremy?
Yeah, Brian, I would like to thank you for coming on. We appreciate it a lot. One thing I want to ask you about is your favorite books, Yankee books that you've read over the years. Obviously, you just came out with 62. You have a few others. And tell me about some of your favorites that you've read.
Oh my gosh, Jack Curry has done some great books. Off the top of my head, there's a great Lou Gehrig book that Jonathan Eig did that I love. I read a lot of books about 1961 in doing the research for the 62 project. So there was a great biography of Roger Maris that I really enjoyed. There was the one that Tony Kubek did, talking about the 1961 season, where I got so much great information from that one. So, but I would say that Jack Curry's book, Joel Sherman did a book, Buster Olney on the last night of the Yankee dynasty. I mean, obviously I'm in Houston. I can't show you my bookshelf now, but it is packed with Yankee books. And I should give a plug here. Mark Feinsand, my co-author on Mission 27. He has a great Yankee book that's out now about the franchise. So Marty Appel did a history called Pinstripe Empire. So just off the top of my head, I think I just gave you like 10 books. I'm trying to like picture my bookshelf here as I'm talking to you, but I could definitely give you a reading list that'll keep you busy the whole off season. No doubt about that.
Julian?
I'm muted. Okay. Brian, thanks as always. It's always great to talk and catch up and everything. Happy that you got to see the debut. So how crazy was that experience? And something I thought was fitting was about like Harrison Bader, how he had high praise for Jason Dominguez, and now he ends up setting the way for Dominguez. I thought it was kind of ironic because they worked together a lot in Somerset and spring training.
Yeah. I mean, Bader, I feel like he's one of those guys who really did appreciate being a Yankee, and he talked about it, being a kid from Bronxville and how significant for him it was. And he said, once a Yankee, always a Yankee. So even though he's back in the National League Central now, I think he's always going to treasure. And I wouldn't completely close the door on Bader coming back at some point. So who knows? But I think that the time is now to give Dominguez a look. He has definitely earned the opportunity. And I'm curious if the Yankees were the team we thought they were going to be, and if they were competing for the division here, I don't think they would have called Dominguez up here. I mean, who knows for sure, but I think that with so little experience at AAA, they would have had an excuse to keep competing there for a division title. But with the situation that they're in here, I think we all kind of understand where they are and how unlikely it is they're going to go to the postseason. Take a look at Dominguez, and when you've got a kid with that raw talent, and he could be your answer next year as your starting center fielder. He's going to get an opportunity here the whole month of September to. I won't be surprised one bit if he goes out, has a really solid September. I mean, obviously he set the bar high last night, but he's not going to get a home run every game. But I think he's going to have a really good September. There's going to be some growing pains here. There's going to be some swing and miss. He's challenged against major league pitching, but I think he's going to go into next season probably as the front runner to be the opening day center fielder. Who knows what they're going to do in free agency, but I think that you can go into next season feeling pretty good about the chance of giving Dominguez an opportunity to win the job in spring training, just the same way that Anthony Volpe stepped up and he won it this year.
Well, yeah. Todd?
You're muted, bro.
You're muted.
All right. Hey. All right. Here I am. All right. Brian, hey, again, thanks for stopping by and taking time out of your busy schedule to hang out with us. We really appreciate it. But what I was going to say is compared to the I want to call it the baby bombers, the original baby bombers with Judge, Greg Bird, Gary Sanchez, those guys, how do you feel this now baby bombers 2.0? How do you feel the optimism and the excitement is around this group compared to that group?
Yeah, I think there's optimism. Oh boy, I mean, what happened to Baby Bombers 1? I mean, Judge obviously became what we thought he was going to be, but then Severino has dealt with so many injuries, and Greg Bird. I mean, he had those great moments in the postseason, but just could not stay healthy. And Gary Sanchez. Let's remember that when Gary came up, he was the hype. I feel like there was so much around Gary Sanchez for years and years, and it's kind of the same as it was with Dominguez, where he was a teenager signed for big money, and then we kind of heard the name Gary Sanchez for years and years, and until he finally got there. And he was everything we thought he was going to be in the beginning. I mean, he was basically a power hitting catcher out of the Jorge Posada mold. And you thought that it was going to be Gary for 10 years behind the plate, but then it just kind of fell off a cliff there, and he wasn't able to maintain it. So that's going to be the real challenge. I don't want to get too big on Dominguez. He's got enough expectations, Lord knows, on him. I don't want to get too big after one game, but I think he's going to be a really good player in this league. And I think that at 20, let's just kind of see where he goes. I think that he has responded to the challenge at every level when he's been promoted. I think that that's something, when I look at his season this year, he started off slow at Somerset, and I think that it wasn't until he got to Scranton that he really turned it on, and I think that he was challenged by going to that higher level. I think that he could now sniff it, that he was close to the big leagues, and he responded to that, and I feel like that's kind of his MO as he's gone along here. You throw him in the hot water, and he responds to it, and now he's in the highest level in the land. There's nowhere higher to go than where he's playing right now, and so I really am excited, curious to see how he's going to do the next 25 years. Boone says he's going to play him in center field regularly. He's the Yankees starting center fielder now, so going to get a real opportunity to show the world why Jason Dominguez deserves to be the Yankees starting center fielder in 2024 and beyond.
Mariella or Jason?
Hi, thank you for having me. So I have two questions. First, your most memorable moment with Derek Jeter. In '96, I was blessed to be able to meet him at a signing he did at the sports store for Father's Day, and he had hair. Let's just say that. And then another thing, I was also honored to be there his last day in pinstripes. And for number 62, it was actually on my birthday, October 4th. And I was driving down the Bruckner Expressway, and I will never forget that moment. So the first question is your most memorable moments. And then also, what can you tell the Yankee fans regarding the performance this year, and what can we expect for next year?
All right. Most memorable Derek moment. I mean, the one that comes to my head is the walk-off single there in the last game against the Baltimore Orioles. Because if you remember that game, I think he had like a big double earlier in the game. And you said, "All right, that's a fine finish. That's a good way for Derek to go out." And then Dave Robertson blows the lead, and you just say, "Oh my gosh, are they really going to lose in Derek Jeter's final game?" And then, as he always did, he came through Captain Clutch there, and he comes through with that one last big hit. And I remember I was in the press box, and we're kind of rewriting our story really fast. And I turned to whoever was sitting next to me. I said, "How does he do it every single time? He comes up with the perfect ending." And so, you talk about Dominguez with a storybook moment there, first swing in the big leagues. Derek Jeter, final swing at Yankee Stadium. He gets a walk-off hit. Of course, it's that inside-out single to right field that we saw for 20 years. It was just a perfect moment. And let me give you one more on Derek. So I used to live on the Upper East Side, and I would go to the Starbucks at, I think it was 84th and 2nd. And one day I'm walking in there, and Derek Jeter's walking out, and he's like, "Hey, buddy." And I was like, what are you doing here? Like, why? How is this even happening? He had double parked there on his way up to the stadium, and it was just kind of like, what a crazy New York moment that was. And I walked into Starbucks to get my order, and I was just like, "Did you guys see that Jeter was here?" And nobody cared. Nobody cared. I was like, "This is New York City," and everybody's just so busy with their day that they don't even notice when the shortstop of the Yankees walks in to get his coffee on the way to Yankee Stadium. So I always regret not asking Derek for a ride to the stadium just to see the look on his face, what he would have said if I had asked him, "Hey man, I'm on my way to the subway, but can you just give me a ride to the stadium?" I wish I had asked him, but no. So, and then I'm sorry, I forgot the other questions you asked there. I got too tied up with Derek.
What do you think about the performance this year? Like, what would you say to the Yankee fans about the performance this year of the Yankees, and what can we expect next year?
Oh, it's been terrible. It's been a real disappointment. I mean, there's been a few bright spots here and there, but if you look up and down the roster, there's not many guys you would point to and say they had a better year than I thought they were going to have. And most guys have been worse than you thought, and that's why they're in the situation they're in. So I think that it's smart. It's the time is right for them to take a look and see what they have in the farm system. I'm excited. Look, I didn't want to watch another month like August either. I didn't want to write the same Yankees lose recap every time. So I thought they should have sold at the deadline. I didn't understand what they were doing there. I mean, I know that they kind of got caught in the middle, and they weren't sure if they were in the race or not. But from the outside looking in, I thought they were out, and I thought they should have traded a guy like Bader on August 1st. So that's not a second guess. I said that in real time. So I didn't understand. Keenan Middleton's been fine, but I didn't understand adding a relief pitcher at the deadline with a team that I didn't think was going to make a postseason run. So they were kind of banking on a miracle. They were hoping that something was going to happen. It didn't. And so now it's time to pivot. And you can bring up these kids. And I think that the fans, and you guys can, they wanted to see youth. I mean, they were tired of seeing the same
He's back.
Product being trotted out there. And so now let's take a look. Let's see Volpe and Dominguez and Pereira and Peraza, and let's see what they can do. They may not all be the answers. They may need to go do more during the offseason, but at least now you have kind of a track record where you can look and point to it and say, all right, we've seen this guy for 20, 25, 30 games. This is what we think he could do, because it's hard to forecast it when you keep a guy in AAA. Peraza, I didn't understand why he was in AAA the whole year. And I mean, it was time to give him a look. This is a guy who was starting a postseason game last year for you. Now he's just kind of sitting in AAA. So I'm glad they brought the kids up. They're going to give him a real chance here. And, let's see, because we need to find out, I think, the Yankees do, and we need to find out, too, if they are the answer for 24 and beyond.
All right. Thank you so much.
Great questions.
Yeah. Hey, Brian, what's going on, man? How you doing? Thanks for coming on. I appreciate you taking the time, man. I had a question for you. I mean, you made a good point, too. Like, you're pointing out the obvious, which is something to the degree of like the underperforming veterans. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the things that I like to emphasize, I think, is the Yankees have not had an offensive prospects like in the farm this deep in a while, right? And most notably, guys that can play multiple positions, versatility. And I think moving forward, they could use that in a way to keep infusing youth without having to sign expensive free agents, right?
Yeah.
So like Austin Wells, he can replace Anthony Rizzo at first base, and then you have a guy like Ben Rice who they could plug in a catcher. So they can still infuse the young guys. And I think, can you see them doing that and maybe loading up on pitching with more starters to surround Cole? That's where they're going to invest their money while continuing to build kind of like the Braves are doing. Infusion of that offensive talent across the board and loading up in pitching. It's smart and maybe a little smarter spending.
Look, I mean, the Braves are doing it right. I mean, look at everything the Braves are doing. I love. So, yeah, I mean, if baseball is a copycat league, we always hear people say that. Copy the Braves if you're going to copy anybody right now. I mean, they are the model of where you want to get to and what you want to be. As far as Wells goes, I know he really wants to stick at catcher. He's confident that he can do it. They're going to give him a chance to do that. I think we might see him at first base a little bit here. He kind of reminds me a little bit Austin Romine in so many ways, and not as a player, just personality wise. He reminds me of Romine, and Romine was a guy who got shifted a little bit to first base while he was with the Yankees. So I think that if you're a catcher, you can probably play some first base, and they're going to probably take a look at that at some point. I don't know if he's going to be a replacement for Anthony Rizzo. Who knows what's going to happen here with Rizzo? I'm kind of curious if they're going to bring him back at all this year. I'm kind of leaning toward they're probably not going to do that and just let him get ready for spring training next year, because concussions are something you don't want to mess with. And so I think that now first base is going to be open here for the rest of the year, and you can LeMahieu's going to get the most of the time over there. But I won't be shocked if Wells gets some reps there, because you are going to try to – they're still going to want to get Higashioka and Ben Rortvedt behind the plate at some point there. Higgy's probably going to be gone next year just based on what he's going to earn on the open market, and they're not going to pay that to a backup catcher. So I think that, the door is wide open here for Wells to take over as the starting catcher if he can have a strong September. And who knows what they do in free agency. Maybe they go get a veteran to kind of supplement that. But I think that what the Yankees need to do is they need to find a balance. There needs to be a balance between what's coming up through the farm system and also bringing in some veterans in free agency, because this is a team that they're never going to do a full tear it down and rebuild with the kids. Like, this is kind of what they did in 2016, where they tore it down a little bit, brought in some of the kids, but they didn't tear it down completely. You still had those veteran talents around there and supplement, because the mission statement is to have a team that can make the playoffs and go to the World Series every single year. And so, whereas like across town, the Mets, I'm for next year. I don't know if the goal is to win a World Series next year for the Mets, or if they're setting it a few years ahead. I feel like the Yankees still have to keep that hope alive there, and so they're not going to do a full teardown. So that you can bring the kids up, but they're also going to have to spend some money and go get some free agents. By the way, Cody Bellinger's a free agent. If I'm the Yankees, go get that guy.
I have one more question for you, if it's all right. I mean, can you see them calling up any one of their young pitchers? These kids, like, I mentioned Clayton Beater because this is the first year he's exposed to the Rule 5 draft, and they have to put him on the 40 to protect him this year, just like Dominguez and Wells. So could you see them calling up a guy like Beater and continuing to develop guys like Thorpe and Warren and stuff like that? I hope they keep Clayton Beater. I really do. And give these kids – and again, it's also an exciting pitching arsenal that we have in the farm now that we haven't had in a while either. So could you see Beater being put on the 40 at some point just to keep him away from the Rule 5?
Well, like you mentioned, if he's going to get exposed to the Rule 5 anyway, then I think that makes sense. And there's a couple guys on the 40 that you can kind of clear and move out. They can definitely get creative with that. So I won't be shocked if they bring up some pitching. Now's the time to do it. It's September. And so even though the rosters have expanded here to 28, there's some movement they can do there. And, this is an opportunity. This is what teams that are out of the race do. They bring up players that they're trying to figure out if these guys can help them for next year. And so just the same way we're talking about position players, I absolutely could see them bringing up some of these young pitchers, and we'll get a look at them. I don't know how many innings they're going to give them because but hey, even if they come in, get their feet wet, get a major league debut in, that's fun. That's fun for the fans, and I think it's good for team morale too, to just kind of see that next generation coming up and getting a chance.
Thank you, Brian. Appreciate it.
Good. Before we go any further, Hector, do we have any fan questions in the chat?
Yeah, we got a few fan questions. Before I get to them, I see we got 55 people in the building. So if you guys can, please smack that like button as we continue the conversation with our friend Bryan Hoch over here. And Jason, shout out to Jason from 161 River Ave, one of the big Yankee content creators that are out there as well. We'll be putting the links to everyone's social media account at the end of the show. She'll be able to follow Jeremy, Julian, Mariella, and Bobby as well. But I got a few questions from the fans, guys in the chat. Keep the questions coming. But this is from my friend Gio, unpopular opinion, who said, Brian, with 3 catchers on the roster, how do you vision the Yankees getting all 3 enough at bats?
I don't think they will. I think that somebody's going to be the odd man out. It's probably going to be Ben Rortvedt. Higgy's going to have his playing time cut into too here. So I think that, with Boone saying that Wells is going to play a lot behind the plate, I think that kind of means he's the starting catcher now, and the other 2 are backups. So when you're the backup catcher or the third string catcher, as one of them is going to be, you're not going to get that many chances. So they'll have to wait for their chances and their opportunities, but I do feel like it's a crowded mix there behind the plate, and so I'm sure they'll try to get them in when they can. But Wells is a starting catcher now, so he's going to get the majority of those at bats, and that's what they need to do. I mean, I think we have enough here of a track record to know what Higashioka is at the big league level. I don't think we've seen quite enough of Rortvedt to get a complete take on him, but he has gotten chances here, and so now let's see Wells get his chances.
And one more question I got before we continue the conversation. I got one from my guy KC Funtime, who says, Brian, who in the front office besides Cashman is providing Hal feedback on what their future plans of the team should be?
Well, Cashman's the head of baseball operations, but that is a crowded room there. They've got a whole lot of people there, and obviously, I think that we talk all the time about analytics, and so Michael Fishman is the head of that. But it really does all filter through Cashman. Cashman is kind of the pipeline to Hal in terms of baseball operations. Obviously, Randy Levine is the team president, and Lon Trost is the COO, but that's more financial side there. Randy kind of looks at it from 30,000 feet. So I think that, the Yankees are a crowded many ways. So baseball is only one small piece of what they do there. And so, but in terms of how should the baseball team operate, it's Cashman goes to Hal, says, hey, I think we should get player X. We need to spend this much money on, and then Hal has the opportunity to say yes or no. And then so, for example, when the Yankees fired Dylan Lawson and replaced him with Sean Casey, that was Cashman going to Hal saying, I think we need to make a change here. I know it's something we've never done, but this needs to happen. And so Hal said, look, if you think that's the best route, then go do it. And so that's what they did. But basically speaking, everything goes from the people under Cashman up to Cashman, then to Hal.
Got me. Go ahead, Nathan.
If that makes sense. I know it's complicated.
So, Brian, I want to ask you more about your career. Obviously, a great career so far, amazing resume you have. Obviously, Yankees beat writer. But I want to ask you, outside of all the interviews you've done, what would be your most memorable interview you've done with the Yankees player or another player?
Ooh, most memorable. I would say I'm a fan of baseball history.
Yeah.
Like, I think you guys can tell that. And so I kind of like the old timers even better than the current players, if that makes sense. So the one that comes to my mind here is I had a sit down with Whitey Ford for like 20 minutes at Yankee Stadium one day. And we were in the press conference room, and I just got to ask Whitey Ford anything I wanted. And I came away from that thinking like, that was awesome. Like, I just sat down with Frank Sinatra. Like, that's what it felt like. I was like, that's the chairman of the board. Like, that is the old Yankees. And obviously, Mickey's gone now, and now currently Yogi's gone. But at the time, I got to be around Yogi and to talk to him. And like, you would come into spring training and you'd see, like, I remember in Torrey's office and then Girardi's office after that, we'd be in there for spring training, and a set of golf clubs would show up. And then you would know that if the golf clubs were there, that meant Yogi was on the way. And so it was always cool. But it's like, all right, that's Yogi Berra walking through here. And, I get to talk to him. And even guys like Ron Guidry now and Willie Randolph, the Yankees from the past generations, getting to hear their stories and kind of see through their eyes in a way what they think about this current team. Like in spring training this year, talking to Willie, and Willie was there every single day, and just talking to him about Volpe, and what do you think about Volpe? What is he? Do you think he's ready? What do you know? What does he need to do better? What does he do really well? And kind of those guys don't mess around. Like they'll tell you what they think. I think so many people now are careful here in this age of social media, and I don't blame them. They don't want to say something that's going to blow up on them, but the guys from the old school, they don't care. Like they'll tell you. Like Goose Gossage is a perfect example of a guy who he doesn't care what. Yeah, I'm gonna tell you what I think, and like you're gonna like it or not. But
no filter.
I'm gonna speak my mind.
Exactly.
So, those guys are the best. I love those guys, and so definitely going back to Whitey Ford would be one of my favorite interviews. Yogi, those guys, but. The Yankees of the 70s, Reggie Jackson. I mean, Reggie is a hoot. I just saw him yesterday here in Houston, and I still don't understand completely why Reggie's here in Houston. It still doesn't make total sense to me. But I love those guys from the old school, and then going into the 80s too, and talking to like Donnie Baseball. Let me tell you a story about Donnie Baseball, because I mentioned that Mattingly was my favorite player growing up, and so when I got on the Yankee beat. Mattingly was still on the coaching staff. I think he was the bench coach under Torrey. He might have been the hitting coach, but I think he was the bench coach. And so I was terrified to talk to Don Mattingly not because he was intimidating in any way, but because like I had his poster on my wall growing up. I didn't want him to be a jerk and it would ruin my childhood, I mean, like knowing that Don Mattingly was my favorite player. So I kind of put it off for a while, and then I don't remember exactly what it was. I think it was something to do with Giambi. I had to talk to Mattingly, and I talked to him. I got him for 5 or 10 minutes in the tunnel outside the Yankee clubhouse. There's old, kind of scary, dark hallways that. I don't remember what we talked about. I just remember that I was so relieved when I came away from it, because I was like, oh my God, he was exactly the way I thought he would be, and he wasn't a dick. And like Don Mattingly is awesome, and my childhood is still intact. So that's kind of the stuff, when you go from being a fan to a reporter. They don't teach you that stuff in journalism school, but you're gonna go through it. And like I was happy that Don Mattingly was still awesome, and he was a good interview, and he's a good guy, and he was exactly what I thought he would be.
Yeah, speaking of Yogi, I had the opportunity to interview his granddaughter, Lindsay Berra, on our show, and she's amazing. Great. And whoever didn't see the movie, everyone go see Yogi Berra's movie. It's called It Ain't Over. It's go check it out. Amazing movie. And like I said, Lindsay has a great family, amazing history, and shout out to her for making doing the movie for Yogi Berra, her grandfather.
That was a great movie. I think you can stream it on like Amazon and stuff now. It may be on Netflix. I'm not sure, but it's definitely on streaming. And I saw that in the theater. I got to go to the premiere during spring training in Tampa. I brought my daughter Penny to that, and so that was cool. And let me tell you a story about that. So like, it's a documentary, and it's not really geared toward a 7-year-old kid, but she came away from it, and she goes, I got in the car with her, and we're driving back, and I said, "What did you think of the movie?" And she goes, George Steinbrenner should have never fired Yogi Berra. And I was like, you're right. He never should have. You're right. But so that was her takeaway from the movie.
Wow, that's amazing.
That's awesome. That's hilarious. But I wanted to have this little conversation, Brian, because this is a joke that I have with like other Yankee fans and stuff. And maybe this is something you and the other beat writers that are down in Houston, you guys could do this weekend. Every time the Yankees or someone that's affiliated with the Yankees, anytime they bring up chicken parmesan, you should take a shot. Right. Last night on the broadcast, they referenced it 17 times while watching the game, during the game. So over the weekend, if you want to have fun, just take a shot anytime you hear someone brings up the word chicken parm, Brian.
I'm sorry for bringing that out. It's crazy how that took off. Yeah, like I was the one who asked that question, and I just was looking for a detail for the story, because he said they had dinner with Wells, and so of course I want to know what, it's good color for the story. I didn't know it was going to take off and become the sensation that it did. And, I actually talked to Volpe about it maybe like a month ago. And I said, like, looking back on it, how crazy is it that became a T-shirt? Like, people are doing it, and he's a little uncomfortable with it. I think he was kind of like a little shy of all the attention that it got, I think, in some ways. Like, to him, it was just dinner. That's just what they do. And
Yeah.
it's kind of, but when you're in that Yankee microscope, you're in that Yankee bubble, you don't realize that what you do is so significant and so important to so many people. So even just him getting dinner with his buddy Austin at home, one day actually became part of the story of the season. And so, I think that I did ask him, like, are you ever going to wear any of the T-shirts? And he said, no, he's not going to wear an Anthony Volpe chicken parm T-shirt. And I said, that's too bad. If somebody made a Bryan Hoch chicken parm T-shirt, I'd probably wear it.
There you go. There you go. Another thing I wanted to bring up, right? This is something that I saw on Twitter just from a random Yankee fan that was talking about your book. And he said, I just finished listening to the Bryan Hoch audiobook. It was a very good book. And for those fans that are out there who love to hate on Hal Steinbrenner and think that he doesn't care about winning, I'll take issues with you. Brian, if you can, walk the fans through the process that you had to go through when gathering your information about the conversation Hal had with Aaron Judge to bring him back. Jason is someone that I talk with frequently about the subject. I know a lot of fans, they feel a certain way towards Hal Steinbrenner. So for those fans that don't get to peek behind the curtain like you do, walk them through that process, Brian.
Well, I mean, as far as the Yankees bringing back Judge, the whole reason Judge is still a Yankee is because Hal Steinbrenner stepped up and was able to go to that 9th year. And so, yeah, with that there's a whole chapter there, and we got a lot of details that I don't think people had in real time. And just, Hal was on vacation. A drive through a mountainous region of Italy, and kind of got a feeling he was getting these text messages here and there. And if you remember, this is around the time of Arson Judge, and we were in San Diego for the winter meetings, and that was the first time that I felt just covering it in real time. I was like, oh, he might not be coming back. When Aaron walked away at the end of the ALCS, I would have said 80% chance he's back. And we did the whole handshake and, thanks for everything. And see you when we see you. But I figured he's coming back. He's got to come back. He just hit 62 home runs. He's going to be the MVP. The Yankees aren't going to let him walk, right? And I think the one factor we didn't really know completely is how much would there be a pull of home in San Francisco, and how much did that mean to him? And was it his dream to go play for the Giants? It was his high school dream to go play for the Giants, but did that still really carry a lot of weight? And so when the Arson Judge tweet came out, and we knew the figures there, that it was gonna, the Giants had gone to 9 years and 360, and the Yankees weren't even there yet. It was kind of like, ooh, are they going to step up? Are they going to keep their guy? Or are they going to let their guy walk here? This is going to be ugly. The Yankees are opening day against the Giants. Aaron Judge is going to be on the third baseline in orange and black at Yankee Stadium. It's going to be like, this is not the ending I thought I was going to be writing to this book here. And so I was getting nervous about it. And obviously I know the Yankees were too, because I had people in the Yankee front office coming up to me in the coffee shop at the hotel. And they were like, what are you hearing? Have you heard from Aaron? What are you hearing on your end? And I was like, dude, shouldn't you know? I should be asking you what you're hearing. So they were actually getting very nervous during that week. And because Judge, he really did pitch a perfect game, man, in free agency. And I think that part of that is, and this is in the book too, but he and Jeter had communicated during the year. That people don't know this. A lot of people don't know, but Derek and Aaron Judge were talking during the year, and Derek basically told him, having gone through so many contract negotiations with the Yankees, and some of them that turned ugly, he said, look, man, here's what they're going to do. They're going to do A, then you're going to do B, then they're going to do C, and then D is going to happen. And so he kind of gave Judge the entire Yankee playbook on how they were going to do free agency. And so Judge at every turn made the right move. And that's why the Yankees got really nervous, because they weren't able to play their usual tricks in business. And it's baseball is a business, and there's a whole other side to it aside from what we see between the white lines. But Aaron and his representatives, with help from Derek Jeter silently in the background, really did kind of pitch a perfect game there, for lack of a better term. And so it took Hal Steinbrenner getting on the phone, calling Judge directly, bypassing Cashman, bypassing everybody, speaking man to man. And Judge was in his parents' house in California. He was about to go to Hawaii, and Hal said, "Look, what's it going to take to get this done? Why is this taking so long?" And Aaron said, "Look, the Giants are at 9 years." So, and then Hal said, "Look, if we go 9 years, will you tell me it's done?" And yeah, okay. Yeah, if you go to the 9th year, we'll have a handshake here over the phone that we'll get it done. And then Hal said, "Good, then it's done. And you're a Yankee, and you're going to be a Yankee for life. And by the way, I'd like to make you captain the same way that my favorite player, Thurman Munson, was a captain." And so that's how he dropped the information on him there. But it wasn't until they went to the 9th year that he told. It wasn't like they used the captaincy as kind of a, "Hey, if you come back, we're going to make you the captain." That was never part of it. It took Hal stepping up, going to that 9th year. I know it was something they were uncomfortable with because, look, you got a 31-year-old player and you're giving him a 9-year contract. But in this case, Judge meant so much to the organization, to the city, to the fans. I mean, he's one of the faces of baseball. Letting him walk would have just been such a devastating gut punch to the fan base, especially after getting swept by Houston. The season going the way it did. They had to bring back Aaron Judge, and I think Hal Steinbrenner understood that from not just a baseball perspective, but also from a business point of view. Like, he's your most recognizable star. You can't let this guy get away.
Yeah,
Hector, you got to clip this. You got to clip it.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely gonna clip a bunch of these clips right now. Sorry about the technical difficulties. It's just with the Wi-Fi, that's why people are coming in and out. But Bobby was next on the list. Go ahead, Bobby.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, I was thinking too. I mean, definitely agreeing with you with everything going on with the 9 years with Judge, and even with Cole, people were a little tentative with having him that long. But I think it is too. It's the way they adjust to this. I mean, you look at someone like Andy Pettitte or CC with CC having a long one. At the end of his career, Pettitte talked to CC about developing a cutter because he couldn't be that power pitcher anymore. And if you look at maybe Miguel Cabrera as a hitter, how he's up there now, but I mean he's still hit. I mean, he's slowing down a little bit, obviously, but he's still hit for a long time after his contract too. So I mean, it's a matter of him kind of adjusting to know that you can't kill every ball anymore and you can't get around on a fastball. So hopefully, I mean, I feel like Aaron Judge is someone who could do that, as well. But yeah, I mean, I just I mean, that was really all I wanted to input. I mean, I know obviously, obviously being down there, I just didn't see if anyone else who you think you would see up this year or maybe next year. I know we were talking about the catchers. I mean, yeah, Somerset, I think it's 5 catchers on their roster right now, and they get them all in somehow. I mean, it's like Augustine Ramirez, Rice, Josh Breaux, all of them. Obviously, they're not going to do that with Higgy and Rorgvet. But yeah, I mean, they're catchers that obviously something's got to give. But
yeah, no, there's pipeline coming. You can't bring them all up. You wish you had. That's the one thing baseball. I think that cutting it down, what used to have a 40-man roster in September, I miss that because we used to go into the clubhouse on September 1st and there'd be all these extra temporary lockers set up, and you'd have 12 new guys in the clubhouse to go talk to and more stories to tell. So as a reporter, it was great. And but yeah, I kind of miss baseball cutting it the September 40-man roster. And I understand you want to keep it kind of the same game you've played all year, but I feel like 2 is not enough for September. I would have liked if they cut it from, if you had to cut it, make it 5 then. Give you a 30-man roster for September, so then you can bring up a couple pitchers, you can have an extra third catcher, and then you can bring up some of your position players too. But I feel like 5 would have been a better number than 2. 2 just feels like it's a little too restrictive, especially for a team like the Yankees here, where they're trying to get a look at kids for the future. This is their opportunity here. I mean, the Yankees, I think, are going to be competitive next year. I think they're going to be competing for something. So they're not going to have an opportunity to just play kids just for fun. And so this is kind of a rare chance here for the Yankees to get a look at the future at the big league level and test these kids, throw them into the fire. So, yeah, I wish they had more of them up here now. But having the roster at 28, it kind of limits what you're able to do.
So, Brian, I'm currently a high school student going into my senior year starting on Tuesday. And I've known for a while I've wanted to be a sports journalist. I've wanted to be a reporter. So I want to hear about your career path from the moment you knew that you wanted to do what you're doing now all throughout up until today. And any advice you would have for me going forward to be in your position in like 10 years.
Wow. You got about 3 hours There's been a lot of twists and turns, man. So I mentioned earlier how I was a Mets fan circa 1996, right? And so that's the wild, wild west days of the internet. We're talking like AOL dial-up, and there was a Yankees.com. There was no Mets.com at the time, and so I'm a high school freshman, and I said, hey, like I had a passion for writing. I always enjoyed writing. I obviously love baseball, and so they kind of came at an intersection. I was lucky to come up at a time where you didn't need to get hired by a newspaper to go write. You could just write from the computer in the family room. And so basically what I did was I started, I guess today you'd call it a blog, but we didn't have that term then. It was a website about the Mets. And I would just kind of recap games and say what I was thinking. And then, it kind of started to gain a following. And, maybe you'd have 20 people read. Then it became 100 people. Then it became 1,000. Then, before I knew it, I had tens of thousands of people reading what I was writing about the team. And most people probably not realizing that I was a 14-year-old kid, still a high school freshman. And so, that continued to grow, and it became a kind of a message board community. And I was still doing my stories, and we'd have trade rumors up there, and I would write recaps about every game. And what it was good practice. I didn't know it at the time, but basically I was practicing for the career that I would one day have. And I'm sure some of it was not good at all. I would guess that some of it was probably pretty bad, but that's the point of it, is that you get your feet wet, you write as much as you can, you read as much as you can. And so when I was 18, the Mets reached out. They had Mets.com by that point, and they said, hey, we've been reading your stuff for a long time here. You do a great job. Would you be interested in a summer internship? So I had to think about that for maybe 10 seconds. And I was like, yeah. So 1 week after I graduated from high school, I'm at Shea Stadium. I've got a press credential around my neck. It said club official. And I was able to basically be a summer intern, and any help they needed in the press box, even if it was just kind of, typing up stuff or making photocopies, I didn't care. Like, I was there in the big leagues, and I got to see behind the scenes and see, how the real reporters were doing it. And once I got that foot in the door, I just never wanted to let it close. So as I went to college, I continued to write online for a couple years there. And baseball, actually, it's funny considering who I now work for, but MLB shut down my website in 2002 for copyright. They didn't like that we were using the Mets logos and stuff like that. So, I mean, people were still trying to figure out what the internet was at that point, I think. But so anyway, they sent me a cease and desist letter. I said, fine, if you don't want me to do this website, I'll go work for somebody else. And Fox Sports contacted me, and that kind of started a chain reaction where I was just writing for anybody who would have me at any point. And I was freelancing for a lot of different places, a lot of times for free, sometimes for $25, $50, like whatever it was. It didn't matter. It wasn't about the money. It was about the experience and getting to go to games and to interview actual big league players, and just being there in the clubhouse. Being able to do that at Shea Stadium, and then it started going over to Yankee Stadium too, and helping out on, as a backup for Mets.com, Yankees.com. So I think that started around 2003, and then a lot of it was just right place, right time. I freelanced for 3 years there, and then I happened to be filling in on the Mets during the winter meetings in 2006. Marty Noble, who covered the Mets then, he was ill. I think he was recovering from surgery, and so I happened to be there, and I heard Mark Feinsand told me, he's like, hey, I think I'm leaving Yankees.com. I'm going to go to the New York Daily News. And I said, really? Like, you're telling me the Yankees beat is going to be open for 2007? So I made sure that anybody who had any pull in that decision, I was like, hey, I know you think of me more as a Mets guy, but like, I would love to cover the Yankees. That would be a dream come true. And I had been up for a Baltimore Orioles job before that. I think I finished runner-up. So I had tried to get hired full-time by MLB.com the year before, but I said New York would be a dream. I don't have to move. Like, I can go to Yankee Stadium. I've already covered the Yankees. I know the team pretty well. Like, would you consider me for that? I'm 24 years old, by the way, at the time. And so, a couple days after Christmas, they called me and said, would you like to be our Yankees beat writer for 2007? I said, yeah. I didn't even ask what it paid. I didn't care. Like, it didn't matter. I was saying yes. I mean, so and so they said, great, January 1st, you start. You're the new Yankees.com beat reporter. And so when I took the job, I thought I would do it for 5 years and see where we're at. And now I've done it for 15. So, and I got no plans to go anywhere else. I love it. I'm lucky every day I get to go to work. Today I'm going to go and talk to the and that's a dream job. This is where I want to be, and it really has been a dream come true. So my advice would be write as much as you can, read as much as you can. Don't be the person who says yes to every opportunity, because you're not going to get handed your dream job right off the bat. You're going to have to take a lot of ones that maybe you're not that excited about, but they all lead you on the path to get where you want to be. And just be at it. Keep working on your craft. Talk to as many people as you can. Think of questions, ask questions, and you'll get where you want to go.
Thank you so much, and I hope in 10 years I'm in that press box with you.
I'll save you a seat. How about that?
Sounds good.
You got
it. Jeremy, you're definitely on the way. And one thing I gotta ask, what are they feeding you in high school? Because I didn't have that much facial hair like you have in high school, right, buddy? Jesus,
I don't
go
know.
ahead, Julian.
Yeah. So I mean, I love all the stuff he said. You've told me some of it in the past, and I appreciate following your path as I'm trying to get in that box too. I mean, I was able to with spring training, but hopefully we can get in the regular season soon in there. But with that, let's get down to some business stuff a little bit with the Yankees' future. I mean, how do you feel about Aaron Boone? Do you think that decision has been made, and do you think they're actually going to make serious changes in the analytic department? What did you make of that report that came out the other day?
Yeah, it's interesting to me. I don't think that decision has been made yet. I think that, if I had to guess right now, I would say Boone will probably be back next year. I just based on if that report is true and it is Cashman's call, then I don't think Cash is going to want to fire his manager based on a season. But ultimately, it's going to come down to Hal, and it's going to come down to, is the outcry from the fan base so great that they feel like they have to do something? Is overhauling the analytics department enough to satisfy the fans after they're probably going to finish in last place here, or maybe fourth place if they get hot here? But obviously, I don't think they're going to the playoffs here this year. So, if I had to guess right now, I would say Boone is back next year, but I don't think that decision has been made yet. And I think some of it could depend on how September goes. Look, if they have an awful September and they lose every game, then it might force their hand. Now, if they have a decent September and one that has you feeling good about next year, and maybe you can sell to people and say, hey, look, I know the summer was bad, but look at September. They played pretty well with the kids. Then I think you have some hope for next year. So I think that these games are meaningful in so many ways, not just for the kids, but for the direction of the franchise too. Like, I think that if you have a nightmare September here, you're going to be forced to make some moves. If you have the September I expect they're probably going to have, which will be pretty good and decent, then maybe you don't have to go around and making changes in the manager chair. But I do think they're going to have to make some changes in the front office and take a real hard look at how these decisions were made, who made them, and what they can do to avoid that in the future. Because clearly, the Josh Donaldson move made no sense to me on day one. And so, I know that, we had people telling us in Minnesota that the Yankees were, that the Twins were so happy to get rid of him, and then the Yankees were happy to bring him on. So, I think that they need to take a real hard look at who's making these decisions and why.
Thanks. Go to
Great question, Julian.
Yeah, that's all. A great question. Todd or Mariella, Jason?
Yeah, just a real quick one about Gleyber Torres. What do you think the Yankees' outlook on him? Do you think they're going to bring him back? Do you think they're going to just let him walk or extend him? And also Luis Severino, where do you think they stand on him, bringing him back?
Sevy, I think, is probably going to wind up somewhere else next year. I think he's probably needs a fresh start at this point, although he has turned around his season story a little bit here. I think that just based on the money, it's hard to commit that to Severino when you don't know what you're going to get. So, I mean, obviously, with Gleyber, I think he's still under contract, so I don't see an urgency to move him here for next year. I think he's actually been one of the guys we talked earlier in this conversation about. You can point to some of the guys and say they played better than we up to the expectations. He played up to what I thought he was going to be. So, if I'm the Yankees, I feel pretty okay with bringing Gleyber back for next season. I think he can be part of the solution. He's not part of the problem. But I also wouldn't be shocked if they continue exploring a trade for him, because we know, even going back to last year, they were willing to trade him to the Marlins for Pablo Lopez. They dangled him out there. So I think the future for Gleyber is uncertain. But I do think he can be part of the solution. He's not part of the problem. I don't look at the Yankees finishing where they are this year and say it's Gleyber Torres' fault. And if he was better, this wouldn't have happened. He had the year you thought they were going to have. It's the other guys around him, the supporting cast, who didn't pull their weight.
Well, just adding on to that, do you think they would give him a big contract, maybe a 5-6 year deal?
I'm not sure. Honestly, I feel like that's something you would kind of have to look at the marketplace there and kind of weigh him against what is out there. Is he? I know he would love to sign a long-term contract, no doubt about that. But I feel like they're not at that point yet. Is that the guy you're going to commit to for the next 6 years? 6 years is a long time, and they have so many long-term contracts here with Cole and with Judge and with Stanton. They're still tied down on, and so they really do. And LeMahieu, is giving Gleyber another one the answer there? I'm not certain that it is, but I could be. You guys could probably talk me into it, but I'm kind of on the fence as far as giving Gleyber a long-term contract if I'm the Yankees.
Speaking of Gleyber, I brought up like a short-term deal, like a 2 or 3 year deal with the high AAV. Oh, something happened.
Sorry, guys. Wait, I got to plug in my phone real quick.
Oh,
all good, Brian.
Yeah, so I think if they re-sign Gleyber, I think it would be like a 2 or 3 year deal with high AAV. I think, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. When it comes to Gleyber, right? My only thing with Gleyber, hold on, Brian, you're muted. You gotta unmute real quick.
Oh, I was saying that would make more sense to me than a 5 or a 6, but I know Gleyber, obviously he wants to get his long-term deal.
Yeah. No, I was literally gonna just say the same thing Nathan was saying about Gleyber and his contract. So going down the line, Mariella, you were next. Go ahead, Mariella.
So what do you see as far as the future with the pitching?
Well, I mean, you got the head of the rotation here. Cole and Rodon are set up, and I think Clark Schmidt has really taken some steps forward this year, where you can count on him as a solid piece of the rotation for next year. Obviously, I don't think we're going to see Domingo Germán in a Yankee uniform again, so you kind of cross him off the list. And I think that this is going to be an offseason where they should go look for some starting pitching. I think that one of the guys I would look at if I'm the Yankees, Blake Snell, is going to be a free agent, and he's got a friendship with Aaron Judge. He's been tested in the American League East. I think he's a guy that you could go take a look at in free agency. I don't know what the asking price is going to be. It's probably going to be pretty high coming off a good year, but I think that coming off a year here where you had Cashman and Aaron Boone talking about this could be the best starting rotation we've ever had, and it was not that. I mean, they're wasting Garrett Cole's Cy Young year, unfortunately, and Rodon has not been what you thought he was going to be. Severino has not lived. Obviously, he hasn't. He was wasn't healthy in the beginning, and then B has been inconsistent. So, I think that. What I saw last night from Rodon was encouraging because, it's hard to believe he's only made 9 starts for the Yankees and it's September. And this has been a storyline with him over the course of his career is the health has been an issue, but he had been healthy the last couple of years. So, is he a guy you can count on for next season? Is he going to take the ball 25 or 30 times next year? If he is, and he can pitch kind of like he did last night against a tough Houston Astros lineup, then I feel a lot better about the rotation there. But I think that if we're talking about guys who actually outperformed what I thought they were going to be coming into the year, Clark Schmidt would be at the top of my list because he was a guy who, coming in, he was like the 6th, 7th, or 8th starter, and he actually big league pitcher who gives you a chance to win every single time out. So, if you got to pencil in Clark Schmidt as your 3 or your 4, I actually feel pretty good about that.
That's a good point. Speaking of pitching, Brian, about a month and a half or 2 months ago, the Yankees brought in this Japanese executive, right? Which suggests to me that they might be looking into exploring the Japanese or the Korean market. You got Jung Hoo Lee, who's this young dynamic 24-year-old Korean outfielder, draws a lot of comparisons to Ichiro. And then this Japanese pitcher, Yamamoto, 25-year-old pitcher. None of these guys from overseas are attached to qualifying offers and all this other stuff. They're going to cost a lot of money. But you can essentially leave, because I think Cody Bellinger is probably going to make $25 million a year. He's parlayed this season into a huge contract. Good for him. And he's represented by Scott Boras. Can you get that Korean outfielder for half the price? Probably. And Japanese pitcher Yamamoto, you can get both of them for the price of one Cody Bellinger. Could they be doing that as a way of combining it with some of their young nucleus and Aaron Judge and Garrett Cole as a way of diversifying? And they have a huge Japanese market. So could they be doing that and exploring the international market again as a way of bringing new talent from other areas? And Japan is always a fundamentally sound baseball nation, so they know how to play the game. So
you guys ask good questions, man. Wow, you're I'm sold. It sounds good to me. Yeah, no, I think that obviously the international market has been something the Yankees have gone to in the past, and they've done well with, for example, Matsui. It was an all-time great Yankee, and Hiroki Kuroda is underrated Yankee, by the way. He didn't get the credit that he deserved for having really, really solid years. And so I guess my question would be, are they going to give you as much production as a Cody Bellinger would? Because we know what Bellinger is going to be. I mean, I think we do anyway. Based on this year, can they get that from these two players you're talking about here? Obviously, the pitcher and the outfielder. But yeah, I think that there's a ton of reasons why the Yankees should explore the international market. And I just remember that when Matsui was a Yankee, you had all that Japanese advertising all around the ballpark. And I think that from a business perspective, too, it makes sense that the Yankees would be involved in that market. I actually heard something earlier this season when Shohei Ohtani we were hearing rumors that the Angels might trade him. Somebody told me that the Angels make more than $1 million per game just on advertising at Angel Stadium for Ohtani. So it was like, no, they're not going to trade Ohtani. Once I heard that, I was like, they're definitely not going to trade Ohtani. They're going to hold on to him, and that's exactly what turned out to happen. So I just think that business-wise, the Yankees absolutely would want to be in that marketplace and go for those players. Now, are the players going to help them win games? I don't know. I'm not going to claim that I'm an expert on these guys. I haven't seen them play, but they do have scouts who will be making those calls, and I'm sure that it's something they're going to look into, no doubt.
And to your point too, this kid Lee is a different player than Bellinger. We're expecting power output from Bellinger. We're expecting contact, which the Yankees need, left-handed contact hitting ability at the top of the order.
Lefty in the lineup. What are they doing?
So
why is the bottom of the lineup all right-handed singles hitters? I've been saying it all year long.
And if we get this lefty contact hitter with speed, who's if he's anywhere close to Ichiro, it would be a welcome addition, right? And if you get him here, you put him at the top of the order, then it sets up the power guys like Judge and everybody else to drive him in. You have guys, and I say this too, like the difference between a speed guy and a power guy. If you have a single. If you hit a single and that guy's at first, he's going to third. The power guy's going to second. Okay?
Obviously, speed is a big part of the game, right?
Yes.
But I think that saying if he's anywhere close to Ichiro, there's only one Ichiro. My gosh.
Well, yeah, true.
So let's not set the bar too high for this.
Fair enough.
It sounds good to me. You've got me sold.
Hector,
I got a few questions. Yeah, a few more questions for the chat. I'm not sure how much longer we have Brian with us, but I want to run down the last few questions that I got for the chat. And also, you guys on the panel, you guys are killing it. Bobby, Jeremy, TC, you guys have amazing questions. But for some people in the chat, we got 55 people in the building. Smack that like button.
Yeah, hit the like button.
Super chats. My guy Rod Thompson with a 1999 super chat who asked Brian, how do the Yankees honestly feel when it comes to Peraza? You've seen a lot of articles come out about the Yankees changing his batting stance, that toe tap. So the wise question, how do you think the Yankees feel when it comes to this young kid?
Yeah, I think they cast their vote in spring training when they picked Volpe over him. I think that it's interesting here because I have been trying to make heads or tails of that question as well because they brought him up. They came into the big leagues. They made a big deal about him. They even played him over IKF in the postseason games, and it almost seemed like he was forgotten. And they stashed him down in AAA for most of the year, and it just seemed like they didn't like him that much for some reason. I don't know what could have possibly changed between the postseason, the division series, the ALCS, and spring training, other than that Volpe outplayed him in spring training. And yeah, Peraza did not have a great spring training, but he was okay. I think he's a solid defender who can make contact, spray the ball around the field. I mean, he's a valuable player. And so, I think that I am curious to know why his stock seemed to have fallen sometime between during the offseason, I guess, where it was kind of like, this is a guy we're going to trust to play in a postseason game. And then suddenly it was like, well, he's been bypassed by Volpe and other guys. And look, Volpe stepped up and earned the job. They made the right choice, and I think that Volpe has kind of lived up to that. I just don't think Peraza did anything wrong to kind of diminish his standing here. And he went down. He did. Credit to him. He went down. He grinded. He did what he was supposed to do in the minors. He showed up to play every day. He had a good mindset. He didn't pout about it. But it did feel kind of like he got the short end of the stick a lot this year. And so I am happy that he got called up here. He's going to get an opportunity for regular playing time. And that's one thing when in August, when they were saying that Josh Donaldson is coming back and taking batting practice and stuff, I said, are they going to really give at bats to Donaldson over Peraza in September? Like, why? What's the purpose here? And the team's not competing for a championship this year. Like, take a look at the kid, and they made the right call there and did what they did. So I think that he's earned an opportunity here to show what he can do on an extended time here, because even in a small sample size from last year, I thought he did a really nice job, and I thought he was going to be a building block and somebody that they were going to count on for the future. I don't know what his future is going to be. Is he starting second baseman, starting third baseman? Is he going to wind up being a utility guy? But it's time to find out.
Yeah. Another question that I got from my friend Ruben with a $5 super chat. Thoughts on Michael King starting now? Could this potentially be be a raise on his trade value, or do you see him as being a part of the team's rotation next year?
Yeah, I don't think it's to raise his trade value. I think it's partly by need. Obviously they've taken some hits in the rotation here, and King has been lobbying this for a while. Even going back to spring training, he kind of tugs on Boone's shoulder and says, "Hey, if you need me to start, I'm ready to start." So this is Michael King's kind of got the build and the look and the repertoire of a starting pitcher. What he doesn't have is the track record of one so far. So they're trying to build up his pitch count, and he's getting a chance here to show. All right, you say you should be a starting pitcher. You say you want to be a starting pitcher in the big leagues. Like, let's go out and let's see if we can make that happen. And so even on a small sample size here, look, if he can build up to 80, 85 pitches and give you a representative outing and keep you in the game, then maybe he is somebody you think of as a back-end starter going into next year. Because the one thing we've seen that we know, the Yankees always want starting pitching. They're always in the market for starting pitching. It's hard to find starting pitching. Starting pitching is so fragile. Even in a year like this where you come in and you say, you're now down to your 8th, 9th, 10th choices as far as the rotation goes. So it's always easier to backfill a bullpen than to fill out a starting rotation. It seems like you can always seem to find guys who can, and they've been pretty good at this. For example, Ian Hamilton. Like, who knew about Ian Hamilton coming into this year? And he actually wound up being a guy that you can count on and you feel good about when he comes into the game. So they're pretty stacked in the bullpen with Loaiziga coming back. Now's a good time to take a look at King and see if he can be a big league starting pitcher. And the one thing I would say about starting pitching in the game now is there's very few Justin Verlanders who are going to give you 200 innings and 32 starts. There's very few Garrett Coles. Nobody's expecting a Michael King to be that guy. But can he be a Clark Schmidt type guy where he gives you 5 or 6 good innings and then you hand it off to the bullpen? I actually think he could be that. I think that Schmidt and King are actually pretty similar in a lot of ways. So, as I said earlier, if you're going to count on Clark Schmidt as your number 4 for next year, then if you're going to tell me Michael King's your number 5, that's not so bad either. I think that he could have a real opportunity there to step up and make a case for himself. And if it doesn't work, you can always collapse him right back in the bullpen.
Yeah, definitely. And also, we got 60 people in the building.
Yeah.
If you guys can, smack that like button. I got one more from a Grace Monroe who says, I love Bryan Hoch. I
Thank
love
you.
his book. I love the Hokey Pokey, the Bronx Zoom, 62, Missing 27. I enjoy his work very much. He's probably already planning a Martian landing book. What do you have to say when
That
it
is
comes
my
to Grace
favorite
in that
comment
one?
of the day so far. I love Grace Monroe. She's the best.
She's a star over here, bro. Grace Monroe, she's a star. Go ahead, Brian.
Well, I'm not planning a Dominguez book yet, not off one game, but hey, stay tuned. You never know. I didn't know I was going to be writing an Aaron Judge book last year until he started hitting home runs like crazy. So yeah, I didn't even really start thinking about the Judge book until the All-Star break last year when I looked up and he had 31. He was halfway there already. I said, what's going on here? Like, this dude might be chasing Roger Maris here this year. And so it came together pretty quickly. And so you never know. I guess stay tuned is what I would say.
Yeah, and the last one, you already touched on it a little bit, and I'll throw it over to Nathan so he can handle this one. But he said, with the youth movement in effect, do you see the Yankees going after Bellinger or Jung Ho Lee? And again, like I said, you already touched on it, so go ahead, Nathan.
Yeah, so no, that's a question for Brian, right? Or
yeah, that's for Brian. My fault.
I think that they absolutely need to. They can't just call up the kids and call it a day for next year. I think that obviously this is a team that, if the mission statement is win the World Series and have a championship caliber club, as Hal Steinbrenner always says, then I don't think you can look at the roster, even today's roster, and say that's a World Series team. No, they got to do more here during the offseason. So there's definitely going to be work to do.
Yeah, so Brian, before we let you go, and obviously today was a great episode, amazing conversation, and I got two more things for you, though. I got to ask you, I'm sure you have a favorite food spot already in New York, but when you're on the road traveling with the team, what is your go-to meal, especially on the road or in Houston or wherever you guys are during the road
Houston trip? Houston, I think you go for Tex-Mex here. You got to go, Houston. Somebody was texting me just while we were on here and was like, asked me if I want to go for barbecue. Houston barbecue's fine. Kansas City barbecue is elite. Kansas City barbecue, I will go 3 for 3. I will eat barbecue every single meal. I think I hold a record for going 8 straight meals of barbecue during an ALCS in Kansas City. I think that was
nice.
No, I was gluttonous, so that was ridiculous. I wouldn't recommend it, but I did do it. I think here you got to get some good tacos, steak fajitas, that kind of stuff. I mean, you try to sample the local stuff. I mean, I think that, for example, you don't want to go to a fish restaurant in Kansas City. You don't know where that. You're not going for sushi when you're in Kansas City. So go what they're known for. If I'm in Baltimore, go crack some crabs. Definitely, if you're on one of the coasts, you can get some good seafood down there. Miami, I had some great seafood in Miami. But yeah, that's one of the beauties of this job and what I love. I love writing about baseball. I love, writing stories. But one of the things I didn't know I loved was travel. I didn't get to travel that much as a kid. And so, we did family vacations at Disney World and stuff like that. But now I've gotten to see parts of the world that I never thought I was going to see as a result of this job. I mean, I never knew I was going to go to London with the Yankees. Like, that was insane. And doing the drive to the Field of Dreams in Iowa, like, these are experiences that you can't even dream of where you're going to go. And so I never knew I was going to get to see San Francisco and bike on the Golden Gate Bridge. And that's all come as a result of baseball and covering the Yankees. So I'm just so appreciative and thankful for the now, 15, 17 years I've gotten to cover the Yankees. And let's sign up for 15 more, right? And, I will say, getting to cover a Yankees World Series was one of the highlights of my career. I got to do it very early on in year 3, the opening of the new stadium, 2009. I thought there would be a lot more of those by now. And so if they could get back to that, I think that would be exciting, because Mission 27 is as much of a fun, great book as it is. It's getting a little stale on the bookshelf here. I think it's time to have a new book about a Yankees World Series. What do you guys think?
Yeah,
definitely.
We got to get a Mission 28 in there pretty soon. Hopefully,
that's a fact.
We got to get another book for Bryan Hoch, man. But yeah, one more.
If I can, I just want to ask just one more thing, Brian. I apologize because Nathan brought up food. It got me a little bit hungry. So this is my food question I ask some people. When you're on the road and you're at a diner, where are you most likely to order? Some pancakes or some French toast? Because I feel pancakes are very simple. You can't mess it up. If you're someone who like pancakes, you like the simple thinning lives. I think people who order French toast are sociopaths because there's a lot of variables that are out of your control. You could easily mess up French toast. What's your thoughts on that, Brian?
If those are my two choices, I'll go with the pancakes, but I'm more of a eggs and corned beef hash kind of guy at a diner if I'm stopping. So I'll go for the salty over the sweet every single time.
Nice.
Yeah, but one last thing before we let you go. Obviously, I want to bring up your family, and actually, we had the opportunity. You when you were doing the book signing at Somerset, and you brought your family, and I met your family in Scranton actually, and family is really important when it comes to athletes travel and playing throughout their long career, having a long career. And what's it been like for you to have your family behind your back from day one, supporting you throughout your career and showing up, helping out with the book signings, and if people don't know, they have another kid on the way. So congrats to Brian and his wife. There's another kid coming on the way.
Congrats, that's it. Yeah, another girl coming. I'm a girl dad. Yeah. So I mean, it's meant everything. They're the reason I do this. They're the sun, the moon, and the stars. So I mean, having them in my corner and now watching the girls get a little bit older, they've grown up around baseball. I mean, it's all they know. You know, they were coming on Yankee road trips when they were 6 weeks old. Literally, I brought Maddie to the hotel in Baltimore and kind of brought her to Camden Yards there for a Yankee road trip, and she was like I said, 6 months old, and that was in September. So it's been everything to just kind of see through their eyes now. And you guys have probably seen the Penny videos, and you know that she's picked up my passion, our passion, really for baseball, and she now gets to know all the players. And you know, this spring training was really cool because they're at an age now where they're starting to get it, and they're understanding what they're looking at. And they're, you know, like I said, Penny would make her little autograph book and say, like, today I want to try and get Anthony Rizzo, and I know that everybody wants to get Aaron Judge's autograph, but I want to try and get Harrison Bader's autograph today. I was like, that's so cool. Like, and so seeing them run around the spring training complex and kind of get, you know, living out what I did. I mean, I became a huge baseball fan when I was 8 years old, and so now seeing it repeat the cycle, I mean, that's how you get fans for life in baseball, really. And so we introduced them to the sport at a young age. They're playing t-ball and now coach pitch, and you know, we are a baseball family, and you know, go on so many road trips, and they've been to every stadium in the American League East already, and you know, we're continuing to cross off as many as we can here. So having them tag along with me while I'm on the road is huge, because otherwise, you know, obviously they're not here with me now because they would be trying to get in on this conversation. Trust me. But you know, I definitely getting to show them the country and show them everything that I've seen and sample the foods around the league like we were talking about, and just those experiences, it turns the work trip into kind of a family vacation. So we've tried to do that whenever we possibly can. And you know, if that means I have to drive to Boston instead of flying, or, you know, gosh, I've driven to Toronto instead of flying just so they can come with me, it's worth it. And I'm happy to do that.
Oh, that's amazing.
That's awesome.
And Brian, I just want to say thank you for joining us today. Great conversation, and man, keep up the great work. And we would love to have you back on the show. And also,
hold on, who's that? Hi.
Oh,
I'm a girl dad too. I got 3 girls. This is my 1-year-old.
Hello.
Say hi.
Hi.
My 1-year-old.
There you go. That's awesome.
Yeah, she's so cute.
Thank you.
Yes,
My other
That's
girls,
a future Meredith
3-year-old and
Marakovitz.
5-year-old are with my wife at the hairdresser. They're getting their hair done. So.
Well,
Well, that's
enjoy
important
that.
too.
I wish I had hair. I wish I had hair to go to the hairdresser. Go ahead.
Yeah, I haven't been spending much time at the barbershop myself lately.
Yeah.
Ryan, thanks for coming on. It was great.
Thank you.
Yeah,
You got it,
thank
guys.
you
Thanks
so
for
much.
having me so much. I enjoyed it. Good chat. Great
Thank
questions.
Thank you so much, Brian.
Thanks, Brian.
All right, Brian, do your thing. Appreciate you.
Let's
Appreciate
go.
everybody that was in the chat. Appreciate everybody that was up here on the panel. Shout out to my brother TC Stills. We're gonna go around. We're gonna go around the panel.
That was
let
awesome.
everyone drop their social media so the people in the chat can follow them. Bobby, let the people in the chat that aren't used to seeing you, let them know where they can follow you, where you work out, and if you have anything that you are working on when it comes to a podcast or anything, promote it. That way we can all follow you. Go ahead, Bobby.
Yeah, no problem. So right now my Twitter is B Santoro. It's my last name, B Santoro 112. Right now working at Pinstripe Prospects and Jersey Sporting News, which is like more of a local one, but Pinstripe Prospects for baseball. And yeah, you can follow me on there. I have Instagram, Twitter, obviously all that good stuff. But yeah, just grinding, hoping that back here next year, obviously, and over the winter. Not gonna be doing New York stuff. I'm a Packers fan for football, but we'll be back here doing New York Yankees baseball next year.
Yeah, listen, we cover both the Giants and Jets over here. You're more than welcome anytime to come talk football.
I just don't want to talk Aaron Rodgers. I'm good. As long as it's not Aaron Rodgers, I'll talk Jordan Love. No Aaron Rodgers.
Julian, everybody knows Julian. He's one of the co-hosts that we have here. He has a show on our channel called The Pipe. Him and Sandy, they cover the Yankee minor league season, minor league teams. But Julian, for the people in the chat, let them know. Go ahead, Jules.
All right, follow us at Talkout Station on all platforms. My personal is Julian Gallardi 1 on Twitter. Instagram's Julian Gallardi 11. The Pipe's been going great. Thank you guys, and we're looking forward to more. And Nathan, thanks for pulling in Hoch. You're the GOAT. So we gotta keep grinding with this stuff, and let's praise the farm, baby. The kids are here.
Let's go.
That's right, baby. That's right. Jeremy, same thing for you, brother. Let everybody know where they can follow you. And if you do have anything you're working on, feel free to promote it so they can follow you as well over there. Go ahead, Jeremy.
You can follow me on Instagram, JeremyFishman_, Twitter, JeremyFishman2. I've been currently writing articles for Nathan's site and our media. Been on his podcast, the NR Hour. With school starting up, I should be writing for my school newspaper again. So. And that's JFK The Torch, and yeah,
Jeremy, just know anytime you want to come by to drop whatever or promote whatever, you're more than welcome to. You got an open door policy. Everybody that was on here have an open door policy. I want to throw it over to Mariela. Let the people know where they can follow you, where they can find you, and if you have a podcast or anything that you work on, feel free to promote it. That way we can all follow you. Go ahead, Mariela.
Okay, so my Instagram is Harley_Yankee_Queen_PR. Nathan, my Twitter, I don't know it off the top of my head.
Oh.
And I'm just a Yankee fan, season ticket holder, and I try to go to as many games as possible when I can travel. I'm trying to get my daughter over here. It's a passion of mine, and it's important that she's involved because this is a big, huge part of my life. So I'm just a Yankee fan for life. So
Mariella's Twitter is Harley HARLEY_YankeePR.
Thank you.
Mariella, I'm going to be at the stadium next week, Friday, September 8th. That's my birthday. I'm going to be at the stadium. I'm going to be running into Dexter Henry from SNY. If you're there, I would love to link up with you. That way we could chit chat and talk. And tú eres boricua?
Yes, born in Utuado.
My family's from Utuado. No jode. Nah, my last name is Beauchamp.
I'm Ramirez.
Oh my God! Look at that! Everybody got 60
Small
degrees
world
separation. Yeah, no, my father family de Utuado. If you look back and they were all a part of the whole the national party trying to feed that. That's a whole conversation. But Mariella, we'll love to link up with you next Friday. We definitely got to do that because we probably 3rd or 5 cousins removed.
We probably are. We still got a house over there.
My family do got a house over there too. That's crazy. But we'll link up. Guys in the chat, appreciate everybody for tuning in. We got 50 people. Smack the like button. Nathan and I, this will be the first of many that we're going to start doing over here in the Morning Brew Sports. Nathan, let the people know what they should be looking forward to when it comes to us. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, so Hector, first of all, thank you for letting us doing the show on your platform. And happy early birthday. Happy early birthday, man. I hope you have a great week heading up towards your birthday, September 8th. And but yeah, so also you can find us on the NR Media and our team. I have a great team around me, and now we're going to be doing some work with the Morning Brew with Hector and Jigga and all that. And you can look for more episodes like this on the show, like Bryan Hoch, and bring on guests here on the show and talk about their journeys and what they do and the teams they cover, or whoever, or if it's an athlete, their journeys like that. And then outside of that, we're still going to do like shows like Chop It Up, like what you guys do every Saturday, every week. But really grateful
Yeah.
for this thing. And like I said, go follow our team on NR Media, the NR Hour on Instagram, Twitter, everywhere. So
all the descriptions, look in the description of the video. Every link for the NNR Hour on YouTube and Twitter is in the description of this video. Make sure you go and follow that movement over there. But we appreciate everybody for tuning in. Like always, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. You can catch me and TC on the Yankees Morning Brew Tuesday, Thursdays, and Fridays. But like always, peace out.
Really, y'all don't know this, y'all in danger. I'm a threat. I'm a gamble with your life, cause you know that it's okay. You know